Okay, YouTubers and space detectives, today we are looking at an Apollo image from the Flickr archive here, Apollo archive. This is Apollo 10, AS10 27-3879 from magazine 27N, Rendezvous, okay? There will be links below for these images, so if you want to download any of these, go ahead, take a look, enlarge the image, play with the contrast, turn the contrast up quite considerably, by about 50%, I would say, and you're going to see some crazy stuff in here. And I'm going to show you a few images. This is the main one, but as always, links will be below. I'm also going to compare it to some of the other things I've published recently. Okay, let's get on with it. Let's go straight to the folder and have a look. The raw image is this one, and it's taken at a slightly odd angle out of the window of the spacecraft, looking at the other part of the spacecraft here after they separated above the moon. And what we have here is a very strange crater with a giant head in it. Now, before the Pareidolia police come and knock on my door to arrest me, this may just be an optical trick. I fully admit that straight away, but there are other things in this area that are very interesting as well. So I'd like to get that straight before we even start, because the Pareidolia police are constantly after me for saying, oh, this looks like that or looks like that. And often things that look like things are what they look like, often they aren't. Especially when you are looking at alien planets and planetoids and moons and that sort of thing, there are often things that look like things that are probably just a coincidence. But let's crack on with it, and I'll show you the clips I've taken. Here's the close-up. I'm just going to flick through. Now this is completely raw. All I've done is enlarge it, and you can see here what looks like a head just here. Now it looks a bit vague to start with, but as often with these images, you don't really see anything until you turn the contrast up like this. And there we have what looks like another giant head in a crater. Now, I fully appreciate this may just be a random pile of debris that's piled into this crater here, or backfill or something, or collapsed structures, don't know. But why would there be two identical craters next to each other, next to a nose-shaped thing here and a mouth with a head? They've got a sort of cheekbone there and a cheekbone there. I mean, from an artistic point of view, I mean, it's pretty cool, but scientifically it doesn't really prove anything. But I think it's a cool image. There's a slightly brighter one there. Don't know. I really don't know. Let's get a bit closer. It doesn't get any sharper when you zoom in, because obviously this is taken from probably something like 40 or so miles above the surface, and this is a very large crater, miles across. So what you think about that is up to you. I mean, there is a giant face on Mars, of course. A lot of people think it's real, and a lot of other people don't. But it is an artificial structure. Whether it's a face or not is up for debate. The actual structure that the face on Mars is on is an artificial structure. At least it's been cut in an artificial way. It's not a completely naturally eroded mountain. You have eye sockets and a nose and a mouth, and cheekbones either side, head coming up here. Now this is very similar, in fact, to something that I published just a few days ago, which is actually a find from a couple of years back, which I'll show you now, this one here. Now, I actually thought this was the same crater, and it does look very similar. You have what looks like a giant head. Now, this is taken from a different angle completely, and it may actually be the same crater. It looks very, very similar, this crater. You got what looks like a giant head, but in fact, what I think this are a bunch of domes. There's a dome here, and a dome here, and a dome here, but they happen to correspond with two eyes and a nose, and they've got a head. But the weird thing is, this even seems to have an ear just there. I mean, it's crazy. I know there shouldn't be giant heads in craters. It's absolutely doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I'm not claiming it does make any sense. I don't know why they're there. They're probably just, as I said, these are domes. And what we're doing is seeing faces in the symmetry. But the symmetry is not facial symmetry, but the architectural symmetry, probably. I don't know. But there are plenty. If you look at my other videos, there's this one. This was I put out just a few days back. Initially, I published this 2 years ago, but this is a kind of a rehash of that. But also check out these other things as well. I've got the Moon Pyramid and the Huge High Structures Part 2. There's this giant, massive structure here, which is about a mile high, which looks kind of like some huge tower blocks or something on the moon. That's some incredible stuff in this video, if you haven't seen it already. There's also this one, which is Part 1, Moon Pyramid and Huge Minor Structures Part 1. So that's Part 1 and 2, where you have this crazy looking structure coming into a crater that looks like a mining structure with a kind of squarish thing sticking up here and pipes coming out of it and strange legs sticking out and this kind of long tubular structure with support pillars and stuff along it. And well, we're checking out, insane. But this one here is a strange anomaly, and I don't claim it is a head. I think it's actually a bunch of domes in a crater on a larger dome-shaped structure or mound with some debris here. Now, pay attention to the detail here. You have this thing sticking out there, and you have these lines coming up here, quite heavily structured kind of striations coming up from the crater here, up the side of the crater, with quite prominent features here. Now compare that to this image again. We go back to this and go back to that, and we have the dome of the head there, the forehead. You have that thing sticking out the side there. You also have these very strong structural shapes coming up the side of the crater, and it's got kind of slightly straight edges there, the crater, and here. Then it goes much more rounded, but it's almost like one of these hexagon craters again, where it's not round, it's kind of yeah, very strange. Now, whether this is the same crater or not, I don't think it is, but it looks very similar, and it may turn out to be, because this image is Apollo 10, and the one I just showed you, the moon baby, what I call it, or the giant head anomaly, in the previous video, is actually Apollo 14. But of course, these different missions did fly over the same parts of the moon many times, and around the moon multiple times, before they landed on the moon and after and everything else. There were many flybys and orbits of the moon, and it does look very similar to this. So this may be the same, but if I take you to the crater image in the folder, this one, let's see if we can correspond it. Here's the enhanced clip of this one. Now, if you look at this one here, it's at an angle, obviously, different approach angle, similar height, but the light's coming from a different angle as well. And you've got this sort of shallowish crater edge here where it looks like there's an older crater, a shallow one, with this one here, okay? And you've got these other craters up here in the distance. Now, does that correspond to the one we're looking at now, the new one? I'm not sure it does. Let's go to the raw image and have a look. This is this one. Now we do have this kind of shallower crater here, and that other crater may be over here. So this may well be the same area, because you have that other shallow crater right next to it. It comes up to around here, and we've got the main crater here, and we've got another crater over here. But that wouldn't be in shot in the other image because the angle's coming from this direction, across this way. Now this time we're heading this way, so I think it's the same. I could be wrong. So don't quote me on that, but there's something else in this image as well over here, which I thought was even more interesting actually, and I think is probably likely to be a structure of some sort. We have this crazy looking thing here, got a sort of little dome-shaped thing here, and a really strange object or set of structures which don't make any visual sense when you look at them. They've got a part sticking out here, sticking up. A bit vague. Let's have a look at the enhancements. Here's the clip. Just enlarged. This is completely raw. Now I've gone in really dark there with the contrast, and I've put a colour filter on it because it goes green. These images go green when you put the contrast up. So a bit of a blue filter does help. There we are. It's starting to look strange. Go a bit darker. And I've really pushed the darkness there. And you can see this thing. It has this very strange structure sticking up here with a part to it there. And let's go back a bit. If you get too close, it doesn't actually get sharper or more defined, but it's got structures that look like they're joined together with a kind of tail piece coming down. It kind of reminded me of a lobster or something. I'm not saying that's what it is. It's just got like segments to it, like almost like a crustacean or arthropod or something, like body sections and a tail and a head. But it obviously is not that. I'm just saying it's shaped like that. It's got a kind of organic, animalistic shape. Not unlike, in fact, this thing, which is in that previous video, part 1, Moon Pyramid part 1. You've got what looks like an intelligent structure, but it has a kind of biomechanical kind of shape to it. Here, where you've got these parts joined together almost like a creature, and you've got these pipes coming out there. I mean, I'm not saying that's what. I'm not saying it's a creature. I'm just saying that if these are structures, you've also got this pyramid thing here, which I showed in the video as well, and loads of weird structures around it. But much like in the actual Alien films, a lot of the design done by H.R. Geiger were sort of biomechanical in sort of design. So they're mechanical, but they look kind of like biological shapes, ergonomic shapes and animalistic shapes. That's what it kind of reminded me of. So that was cool. Well, we're checking this out. I mean, absolutely insane. I've highlighted it there. So you've got, design-wise, I mean, this may be a natural structure, but why would a natural structure be stood up like that? And it's even got a little structure on top of it there. Just there, see that? So you've got these different parts to it coming down, and you've got a little one on top. Absolutely insane. And there's another structure here. So go and take a look at those videos. They're not getting a lot of views at the moment. Don't know why. Don't know what's going on with YouTube at the moment. My channel seems to be restricted in some way for some reason. I don't know why. So there we have it. I'll put all the links for this and everything below. If you want links for these other images, go to these actual videos. They're all recent, so you can go to the video and go underneath in the description. They've all got links to the original images from the Apollo archive. And let's take another quick look at that before we go. And I'll let you all go. And I mean, basically, this part I thought was more interesting than the actual head, because the head is probably an optical illusion. And when you really darken it, this is what comes up. You've got a little structure here. You've got this kind of rounded part. You've even got these little support struts or whatever these things are. This may turn out to be completely natural. I don't know, but there seems to be another squarish structure here. It's a bit vague, as a lot of these images are, but this is extremely large. This is miles across, this crater, probably 2 or 3 miles, and we have this thing here. This reminded me of something off Star Trek, you know, like the phaser sort of thing. Really cool. What is that? So the Sphinx or head in the crater I just showed you may or may not be anything significant. I'm not saying it is, but it's still interesting either way. when you look at it, this is the best angle of it. There is another angle of this, but it's much further away. When you darken it up, look at that. Now, pay attention to this here. Just there. Okay? Got the two eye sockets and a nose and a mouth, if that's what they are. You've got kind of a cheekbone sticking out here. And then behind it, you've got that little shape there. Now, let's go to this. Two eye sockets, nose, cheekbone sticking out, and that thing sticking out there. So it may well be the same crater. It doesn't match exactly because obviously the lighting's different and the angle's different and everything. Elevation's different. Everything's different about it, but I think it may be the same because you've got these structures sticking up here at the back, which seem to correspond with those as well. So let's have a look at that again, just to see if those correspond. They do seem to correspond. And we're almost directly above it. And what's cool about it is you've got some reference here of the spacecraft as well, which I think is great. I mean, as an image in itself, it's incredible, whether this is a head or not. So, Pareidolia Police. I'm not giving out my address, but you know, I'm sure you'll find it. You come and knock on my door and tell me that I'm insane and been taking drugs and I'm completely mad. Yeah, whatever. People who take drugs and are completely mad try and project it onto other people, I find, and accuse others of what they are. It's called projection. Okay, so there we are. So, two structures. This one, to me, is much more interesting in many ways. It's much more mechanical looking. And we've got that coming around there, like a tail there, coming sort of angled down. Now, this could have been stood up, or partly stood up and collapsed, who knows. But to me, it kind of looks like it's sticking in the ground. You've got this kind of, like a hole here, and there's something going into it, with parts to it here. It's a bit vague, but there are parts joined together. And you can even see that in the raw image. If you look at it for a while, you can see these joined up parts here. And it kind of goes into the ground there. You've got this rounded bit, and you've got this bit coming off here. It's all there. All these things are here. And you've got that kind of squarish building here. You can just about make out. So I'm not adding this stuff into the images. You can clearly see them in the raw images. But this is such a tantalising image. I mean, it kind of looks better from a bit further back. If you go a bit smaller, perhaps. Because if you get too close, it kind of gets a bit fuzzy. So there we are. Very interesting. Is it a sphinx? Is it a carved statue? Probably not. Could it be a bunch of actual structures that are just in that kind of formation with symmetrical domes? And actually, let's go in really close. Let's see if we can actually see anything in here. There does seem to be some eye detail here, like reflections here, which I find very, very odd. You can see that there. You can see that? I can see it. I mean, is that a coincidence? You even seem to have nostrils here. And then I mean, that's just insane. Very odd, this one. Answers on the postcard as usual. Is it a head? Is it an optical illusion? Could well be. Is it just a collapsed structure? Or, like in the other one here, is it actually a collection of domes that make up that magic kind of formation of eyes and nose and mouth? But from this angle, it's got an ear. See, I thought I had this one sorted out. I've been going back over some of these older things and checking them out and looking at other images. And I thought, oh yeah, in this video I'm very sceptical about this, and I do say 3 or 4 times that it's probably just a collection of domes, which may partially collapsed or whatever, that kind of make a face shape. But now seeing this other angle, I'm not so sure. I really am not so sure. Unbelievable. And here's that other thing, the lobster or whatever. I don't know if I'll call it that. You know, you've got, this is the main thing that really got my attention. This bit, which comes around like that. What the hell's that? And then you've got this back end, which kind of comes right like that. And you've got these joined up bits here, and you've got little legs, and it's almost like a body of something, like a ship, like a spaceship or some kind of. And this looks like it's going into the ground there. You've got this curved bit. Absolutely nuts. Now, there isn't a lot of detail here, but the shapes in themselves and the way they're joined together make them look very artificial. And when you get in a bit closer, you can see these, what look like legs, holding this in place. I don't know. I really don't know. But this thing at the back, what the hell's all that about? Is that completely random? And there seems to be bits coming down here as well, joining to this. So, answers on a postcard, as usual, guys. Let's have a quick look at that. Actually, let's just get that other thing up a minute. Okay, let's get in really close here and have a really good look at this, which I haven't actually done yet. Now, of course, there's quite a lot of pixelation when you zoom in, but there are some tantalising details here. You've got what looks like some eye detail here and here. You can just about make it out. You see, there. And you've got nostril detail there. Some rather interesting mouth detail here, which looks a bit distorted. Could be collapsed. There's something like a shadow coming around there. Don't know for sure. And that bit that's sticking out the side, which I was on about before, comes out here like that. Which is also prevalent in the other one. There, just there. Okay. It corresponds. It does correspond, so it may well be the same thing. And it has these kind of really pronounced structures sticking up at the back here, which I think may be the same. And you've got this part here, this kind of jagged bit here. Now check out the jagged bit there and let's see if that corresponds. It does. You've got this jagged bit here, see? There's more detail in this because it's closer and lower down, and a more lit up kind of angle from the sun as well. So I think it is the same one. Even though it's a different mission, they often flew over the same areas, looking for a place to land for the Apollo 11 and other landing spots as well. So there we are. This one's got a lot of detail, but you don't see a lot of the potential face because it's from an angle, whereas this one gives us a kind of flat, straight down, almost straight down view of it, slight angle. But those jagged bits do match. Okay, so it does kind of match up, and you've got, I mean, the nose comes right up like that, you know, and you've got the eye socket kind of shapes there. I'm doing this very roughly, obviously. Very interesting indeed. So there we are. Before I go, I could go on for ages about this. I find these sort of things fascinating. But whether it is or not, it's a great image. It's a very interesting image either way, and we will probably never know what it is, but it is probably just random collection of debris and rocks and domes. But they may be intelligent structures, and this is the reason why we have symmetry, because these sockets or potential eye sockets are the same size and the same shape. Okay, what are the chances of that? Yes, unbelievable. There we have it. So thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you soon. Please subscribe and give the thumbs up if you haven't already, and do go back and watch some of my previous videos on the moon. I've been doing a whole series about the moon recently, and I should be doing a few more, but there are some Mars videos coming up soon as well, so keep your eye out for those. They'll be coming up in a few days. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you soon.